I often, when people find out that I had a relationship with Stephen Neal, that I was his training partner and his coach, they often ask me, say, hey, what made Stephen Neal such a special athlete? I get asked that question all the time, and while there are several attributes, he's quick, he's strong, he's smart, he's athletic. Probably the overwhelming attribute that comes to mind, though, is the power of his mind. We recruited Stephen Neal to Cal State Bakersfield. He was a freshman when he came to our place. He had just placed fourth in the California high school state meet, 189 pounds. And like all heavyweights, he came in and he says, "Hey, coach, I'd like to win a couple of national titles, and then I want to go into the NFL and play in the NFL." And so we kind of said, "Okay, sure, kid, we'll make that happen. Get your wrestling shoes. Let's go work out now." Because that was kind of the typical thing for all high school heavyweights to come in saying, "I'm going to win 2 national titles and I'm going to play in the NFL and live happily ever after." But Steve had such a powerful, incredible mind. It became self-evident within a year or so that this kid actually could do it. And as we know now, 10 years in the NFL protecting Tom Brady, he did exactly what he had visualized. I think of a couple of other things that come to mind. Talking about the power of Stephen Neal's mind, he had the ability to remove all doubt. As a coach, you'd go up to certain athletes before they'd wrestle and maybe slap them on the cheeks, look in their eye and say, "Hey, are you ready?" And of course the athlete always says, "Yeah, I'm ready, I'm ready." But most of those athletes still had a little bit of doubt before they went out to perform on a big match. I know as an athlete myself, always said, "Yeah, coach, I'm ready." But on the big matches, still a little bit of doubt. Stephen Neal had the ability to get rid of all doubt. He didn't care if he was wrestling the 2-time defending national champion, the defending world champion. He had the ability to remove all doubt and go out and compete and visualize success. Like I said, you know, what makes Stephen Neal such a great athlete is just the power of his mind. He has such a powerful mind. I recall in 1999 he had made the world team. He had gone to Colorado. He was a training camp there, and he'd come back to Bakersfield prior to leaving to Paris, France for the training camp and then the World Championships in Turkey. And he was sitting in the office at Cal State Bakersfield, and the Bakersfield, California reporter had come in and sat down with him and was interviewing him. And Steve began to talk to him and shared with him that he had a bad shoulder, he had a bum shoulder, it was causing some pain, and that he needed to have surgery on it. But there wasn't time, and so he's going to have that surgery after the World Championships, which is in fact exactly what he did. But he was talking to the California reporter, and the reporter looks at him and says, "Well, you got a bad shoulder, so how do you think you'll be able to do at the World Championships?" And Steve just looked him in the eye. He says, "Well, I'm gonna win it." And the reporter kind of looked at him puzzled. He goes, "Yeah, but you got a bad shoulder. How, you know? So do you really think you can win it with a bad shoulder?" And I recall Steve's reply. He looks at him. He says, "Of course. I'm going to win it. Why would I go? If I'm not going to win it, why would I go?" But he had convinced himself that even though this was his first world championship, and even though he had limited international experience, he had convinced his mind that he was going to go back and win a world championship. And that's exactly what he did that year. He went back and won the 1999 World Championships. And again, just showing the power that he has when he convinces himself to mentally to do something. When people find that I had a relationship with Stephen Neal and that I coached him and I wrestled with him, they often come up and the first question they want to know is, "Hey, what makes Stephen Neal such a special athlete?" And well, first of all, I think you have to realize he's probably the only man on the planet that's a world champion in 2 different sports. I mean, that's mind-boggling. He's a world freestyle heavyweight wrestling champion, and he's also a 3-time Super Bowl winning champion. So, you know, those are special people. And again, I challenge you to find anybody on the planet that has 2 world championships in 2 different sports. So, phenomenal individual and just incredible. I remember the story of Steve as well. Again, showing the power that he has in his mind. We were training, and he was getting ready for the World Championships, and he was at one of the camps, and they were doing some gut wrenches, and he shared with me, he says, "You know, my ribs are really sore. It hurts to fight these gut wrenches. I'm not really good at fighting these gut wrenches." And so he told me, you know, he had already convinced himself that he couldn't fight these gut wrenches, and so he was going to fight the gut wrench a little bit, and then let the gut wrench go. And then when the opponent kind of eased up after they just completed a gut wrench on him, he was going to reverse direction and step over and catch him. And I remember thinking to myself, Steve, these are the best guys in the world. You're not going to be able to do this. But he had the power of the mind to visualize something and implement it. And sure enough, in the World Championships, I don't know how many times I saw him do that, but he'd fight that gut wrench, and when it'd start to hurt and feel a little bit of pain there, then he'd go with the gut wrench, and the opponents would kind of release and or relax a little bit because they'd just gotten their gut wrench, and then all of a sudden, just with cat-like quickness, he would reverse direction and step over them. These are world-class guys with gut wrenches, and he's stepping over them, something like you would see at a junior high meet. But again, just visualizing what he wanted to do and had the powerful enough mind to follow through and make it happen.
Steve Neal is Cal State's best athlete ever, which is quite an accomplishment in itself. He is the only wrestler in U.S. history that won a NCAA title, Pan Am title, and world title within a year's period. And then he was named FILA Wrestler of the Year, which as a heavyweight is pretty phenomenal by itself. He is brighter than he is a great athlete, and he's very, very proud of being a very solid family man and citizen, and that's part of what his real reputation is. He's kind of the common man among great athletes.